allowed us to move forward with a different project scope. To make up for that lack of communication and coordination, FEMA has allowed us to continue with this grant application, provided we have a new project scope. EMA is proposing that we partner with the mitigation team at IDHS to do their state residential safe room program instead. Currently, there are 37 applicants in Morgan County for the safe room program. We are proposing that we open this application period up again for Morgan County residents who did not have an opportunity to apply before to do so now. From that, we'll randomly select 22 residents to participate. Again, this is a grant not to exceed $150,000 with a 25% local match. That local match will be met by the residents, so they will be required to pay 25% of their project cost. I have some papers here provided by Ben Bieberdorf, and as I pass them out, he will explain what you have before you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. So in the packets being presented to you the first one will be the formal notification determination from FEMA, where it was outlined to Morgan County that the project as it stands is not eligible. The second attachment in the packet is the email from the FEMA administrator, which just gives into more detail about the options available to Morgan County. And then the final two resources are some fact sheets and frequently asked questions that the state uses for our state residential safe room program, which we are going to be helping Abby and Emily's team with modifying for the county level.
Do you have any questions for us?
Anyone have any questions? I don't. I see why they did what they did. I'll entertain a motion that we modify the application that you originally made.
Mm-hmm. Kenny Howe makes a motion. Kenny Howe makes a motion. We approve the HMA mitigation grant in the amount of $150,000 for EMA.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
I think the grant name should be a little bit more catchy, like Toto or Dorothy or.
Not in Kansas anymore.
We know what we're doing as far as the safety.
Yeah. Perfect. We will consider.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners.
I'm sure you can come up with an acronym that fits, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody loves those
The
acronyms.
Oz grant.
Right. Thank you. Now we covered up. There it is. I'll have to keep this thing outside. Okay. The designated smoking area, we're not going to do that this evening, is that correct?
I don't know any reason not to do it.
Oh, I thought that was one we had to delay. We don't. This is good to go.
No, I do know that there's some discussion to be had on enforcement and so
No,
forth.
it's always just, this will be the first reading for it? Is that correct? Second reading? It's got written first, so.
I
Okay.
think we just presented it to you last week as something to consider, so we can still consider this a first reading if you want, because there's some questions that have been posed I wanted to address.
You want to address them?
The questions? Mr. Commissioner Collier had specifically asked me first what the enforcement mechanism would be for this. The fact is that these citations would probably be issued through the Sheriff's Department. And much like our burn ban, that would be an enforcement that would be done by yours truly. Our fervent hope is that we don't get to that point. And then in terms of the fines and fees, where those would go, that is not something that we have discussed, but I would think they would just go general fund.
There it is.
I just figured if we were gonna go out and find somebody, they'd wanna know where that was going and so back to the general fund and then
I mean, certainly if you,
when Kenny's out there smoking in the boys' room, if I tell on him, that's not enforceable. That's why I was wondering who had the authority to actually sit there and take this ordinance and enforce it.
I think it's the same as like a burn ban or any other ordinance violation like that.
Okay.
And we, by the way, will be revisiting a whole host of ordinances, so this may be revisited at that point in time in the spring. But for now, we just need to establish that, and then it would just be subject to a citation by sheriff's deputy.
We have any questions on this ordinance 24, or 2024-26?
Answer's mine.
Right. I'll entertain a motion for, this is the second reading, correct? It was written down here first. and I-
Regardless, within my motion, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2024-26, ordinance prohibiting smoking and vaping.
Uh-oh.
No, not an uh-oh, just, I'm sorry. Can I talk?
This is like, your association and the Commissioners Association at the state level, this is why they
Bash
pay
heads.
attorneys a lot of money and they.
No, I just
lock
want to
horns.
explain something about, you keep talking about issuing citations. We can't do that. The reason we can't do that because of ARIES. ARIES is a scan system that we use to write citations, state law, that type of thing. There's no way we can write ordinance citations. We ran into this in the burn ban, and I don't know if you've got those reports yet or not, but we had a couple of burn bans that we had to respond to. Under ordinance, we can't write citations to that person. So we do an incident report and forward it to you. So I
Okay.
just wanted to make you aware of that.
That's fine. You do an
Yeah,
incident
you
report.
keep saying
and send it to me.
citations, and there's no way we can do citations.
I got you. I understand, and perhaps citation was a sloppy word.
No,
but
that's
thank you.
fine. No.
Thank you.
Yeah. but
But yes, an incident report, and then it would be up to me to enforce.
Yes.
Got
Sorry.
it.
And contrary to what most people believe, it is a pleasure to see you this evening.
Most people.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sheriff.
Thank you for clarifying.
Verifying.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah, any of our, I would call them non-crime, but yet enforceable items like burn bans and things like that that are public health and safety. How do you make sure we do what we're supposed to? So that's the procedure we'll be using, correct? Now, any other further questions?
Did Collier get all of his motion out? I
No,
didn't think so.
But do we want to limit this just to the administrative and the judicial campus? Property? Or is this all county properties?
Well, that would be the fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds already has a smoking
And it
ban.
already has its own,
It has its own requirements. I don't know where those come from.
what about the parks? Do you want to stop it there?
The
Right,
fairgrounds
that's
are entirely
And
non-smoking, as far
county
as I know.
administrative will be soon over
What
there.
about parks, Kenny? I don't know if we want to,
This will get us started. We can always fine tune it.
just,
Makes the motion that we accept the ordinance 2024-26, ordinance prohibiting smoking and vaping on Morgan County Administrative Judicial Campus property outside of designated areas, and I waive any possible second reading.
Second.
motion been made and seconded for the ordinance 24-26, 2024-26. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann, for the clarification.
Anytime.
Ordinance 2024-27 is PTO policy, and this has not had a first reading. This will be it, and we've,
Yes, that's correct. This is a first reading only.
correct.
So before you guys is an ordinance to update our PTO policy within the handbook, employee handbook. And I'll give you a little background as to why. We had a number of department heads coming to us saying, hey, it's really disrupting our budgets when we have employees who may be new, get all their hours, then leave to go somewhere else, and we have lots of dollars that we're expending on employees who leave. And so we got a whole workforce together about a year ago to say, hey, how can we rectify this and start to make it better? And one of the big things that came out of that was that we would look at moving to an accrual-based system. So instead of employees getting all of their time on their anniversary date, that would happen over a number of different pays. There's other things updated in this as well. There's just tweaking in terms of language. There's a handful of other things related to FMLA that are updated. By and large, most of the material in here is already identical to what we have. The biggest change being the PTO portion. I know Commissioner Collier had some tweaks already that he would like to make to it, which is great. This is the time for that feedback.
You have questions about this, gentlemen? So the first reading, I'm sorry, Ann, I thought I heard a noise. It was Kenny.
Did I make noise?
Could have been Kenny. I've got these hearing aids in. I hear all kinds of stuff I shouldn't be.
It is a first reading. There's a couple, Ms. Fry and I had talked about just a couple of little language tweaks in there that I would run by you guys. But they're just more wordsmithing than anything. I know that the handling of the PTO and the rollover and so forth has been an issue, and I didn't know if you all had any discussion on that.
Well, I think with the first reading, that's gives us an opportunity to weigh in on things that we would like to take a look at. And of course, the second reading will be coming up probably the first meeting in December, I would imagine. So at that time, we can kind of do the tweaking that we feel like might be necessary. So I'll entertain a motion.
I don't think there's no motion to be made on the first reading.
Correct.
Not to do anything. We
I
just
thought
have
you had to move it on
acknowledge
the first reading.
Yep, we just have to acknowledge.
Just let them know we're doing it. Okay.
And I will
I
acknowledge.
thought you had to do the first
I will
reading.
go on public record and acknowledge that Courtney Kemp has sent a letter. She could not make it tonight, and that just so that she knows that she's not the only one. I've talked to several employees in the last 2 weeks. Their concerns are being addressed. Stay tuned to the
How did
next
she know
meeting.
what we were doing?
I have no clue, because most of the time I don't even know if we know what we're doing.
Well, I think we let the department heads know what we're thinking about, but,
Well, and a lot of this is driven by department heads who have given concerns, but then when push comes to shove and we address those concerns and the employees push back, then the department heads go quiet because they don't want to fight the people that they're working with every day. And that's why you, Mr. Hale, and I make the big bucks and make the big decisions.
okay, well, we'll acknowledge we had the ordinance brought in front of us, and that we've had the first read presented.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a pleasure for me to bring back to, he's no stranger to this board, Ryan Goodwin, our commissioner. And Ryan, you have some interesting news for us.
I do. It's good to be here.
Good to have you here.
It's a little strange to be on this side of the desk.
Yeah, if you want to state your name and address.
Yes, Ryan Goodwin. I spent 10 years planted in those chairs.
Yeah.
But it is good to be with you. I'm here tonight on behalf of IU Health, and then more specifically, IU Health Morgan Incorporated, which was the nonprofit corporation formed when the county sold its hospital assets to IU Health in 2011. So what I have to talk about has several moving parts. It's not overly complicated, but there are several items. So I think it's best to begin with the end. What ultimately I'm going to ask for you to consider today is an amendment to the affiliation agreement. The affiliation agreement was a document that the commissioners executed in 2011 when that transfer of the assets from Morgan Hospital, a county-operated hospital at the time, went to the newly created IU Health Morgan Corporation. And specifically, the amendment that we're seeking is the removal of requirements that there be underlying like bylaws and particularly Morgan County residents serving on the board. That's the primary gist of the amendment. And then to support that amendment by a resolution just acknowledging that that's taken place. So it would be unfair for me to ask you to do that without telling you why. We already mentioned the 2011 transfer of Morgan Hospital as a county-owned hospital to IU, and IU has partnered exceptionally well with the community since that time in 2011 when the IU Health Morgan Incorporation was formed. I'm a member of that board. I serve with 6 others. All of us are Morgan County residents, and I speak on behalf of each of us tonight. So what has transpired is when the county transferred the assets to IU Morgan Incorporated and formed the board, those individuals do not oversee the local hospital. I want to make clear of that. We are not the board of directors that runs the hospital. We simply manage the assets that are left over from that transaction. And those assets are approximately $2 million in cash and a little over 100 acres distributed out amongst 3 different locations. Here on John R. Wooden, where the hospital sits, that land is tied up in a 99-year lease, I think which expires in 2114, which is a remarkable number. Approximately 95 acres outside of 252, that's zoned agriculture and is currently on a farm lease. And then approximately, I believe it's 22 and a half acres at I-69 and State Road 144 on the Johnson County side. Those are the assets that we have. And with those holdings, we rent the land. And then we've also done a number of philanthropic projects here recently, a pretty substantial grant to Stability First. IU Morgan funds a community health coordinator in the Morgan County schools. And then most significantly, we're in the middle of a $2 million capital campaign to expand cancer treatment here in Morgan County. Now that part is important because not only has IU Health partnered well with the community since 2011, but they're doubling down on serving Morgan County. Now here's where the changes come. IU Health, big IU Health, not our subdivision here, if you will, is in the process of streamlining its corporate structure and governance. We are an outlier. We are the only small board affiliated with one particular hospital entity in the IU Health system. All the other IU Health properties report to regional boards and then on up through the corporate organizational chart. So IU desires to bring our campus into the main IU Health body that would then be integrated into the South Central region, which we would join the Bloomington Hospital, the Bedford Hospital, and the Paoli Hospital. That is ran by Denzel Ross, who's here with me tonight, as the president of the South Central region. In recognition of the assets that we hold, IU Health desires to purchase all of the land that we have for a total of $4.8 million. That represents something north of the fair market value as recently appraised commercially. We are ecstatic as a local board of this prospect for a couple of reasons. One, that land, while it could be significant at some point in the future, there are no plans on the horizon for us to turn that into a more meaningful use. And so we would stand to benefit the Morgan County residents more greatly by the infusion of cash that could then be invested and used locally. So they propose to transfer $4.8 million in exchange for all of that land. And that land would be owned and maintained not by IU Morgan Incorporated, but IU Health. It's important to note that the land that the hospital sits on If for any reason IU Health would decide not to use that land for a hospital, I want to be abundantly clear that that is not even remotely a conversation that's being had. Under the county hospital statute, that land would automatically revert back to the county commissioners because of your original transfer of that land in 2011. So you might be asking, what would happen with our board if this sub-corporation is dissolved as part of this merger? All 7 of us would retain our involvement, but we would move from a board structure to a philanthropy council under IU Health Foundation. All 7 of us desire to continue to serve. We have 2 other Morgan County residents that would like to join us in that effort. And then that group of all Morgan County residents would oversee not only the $2 million in assets that we currently have, but the addition of the $4.8 million in assets that would come from the transaction. That would make our Morgan County fund in the IU Health Foundation quite possibly the most significant amount of money in the county that could be used for the sole purpose of improving health in Morgan County. So we're excited about that prospect as well. So 2 things have to happen for us in order to be able to finish this up. 1, our local board has to approve it. That was done at our last meeting. It was a unanimous decision with no one voting against that. And then secondly, what would have to happen is the amendment to the affiliation agreement, basically just acknowledging that we would no longer have an IU Health Morgan Incorporation bylaws and board, but instead would operate under a philanthropy council through IU Foundation. That's probably enough talking for me, and I'll let you guys ponder some questions.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the clarity that you present the complicated. I've always appreciated that when you were sitting up here on this board, you made it understandable. It's very much appreciated.
Well, and something I did forget to mention that I want to be really clear about as well. I tried to stress this with the $2 million investment in the cancer center here. This is simply an administrative change. Our hospital here on Wooden Drive would still say IU Morgan. They would still be branding with the Morgan name. The hospital continues to operate here. It is really just the underlying legal structure. And because our board doesn't oversee the hospital anyway, we're okay with the improvements to the corporate governance of the hospital and would be more than happy to be aligned with the South Central region, and then also to have the full advantage of the IU Foundation as we go about making the investment in the community. So it's a significant win for us, and we fully support it locally. Just wanted to be very clear that it doesn't change the operation of the hospital and what the public would see.
I took the liberty of discussing this a little bit with our director of our health department, because they share the same, I guess you say, vision for
Sure.
In what we do, and she was excited to hear about what was on the table. So, and looking forward to it. And I've also talked to a young lady, and I talked to Emily, and I can't remember her last name, from IU Health, that there's a lot of people on the same, I guess you say, pulling the same wagon.
Correct.
And that's very much appreciated.
Yeah, Emily is a full-time professional fundraiser that works for the IU Health Foundation.
That helps out too. You gentlemen have any questions about the proposal?
Nope, I'd already talked to Ryan about it, and I'm fine with it. Appreciate your clarity as well.
Sir?
I just think as much as IU Health, all its various, the foundation and whatnot, I think it behooves us as a county to show part of our appreciation by getting on board and being like, because they have been good to us.
Yeah.
Within my fire career, I'd get to go into the ER more often than the average person. I'm very grateful as a taxpayer, a citizen, and a fireman that I have an ER to go to. I don't have to go 30 minutes either way. And, you know, your group is, you know, you talked about the 2 million in the land. You don't have the capital with 2 million to do anything with the land. So it behooves you to take the 4.8 and do good with that. And it's exciting to know that they're reinvesting back in through the cancer. Because I used the Simon Cancer Center in 2017, was successful up there. And so, you know, in this neck of the woods south of 70, it's not uncommon to say, go IU. So I graciously make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we accept the First Amendment to the affiliation agreement as presented and amend this as requested.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded that we take this First Amendment to the affiliation agreement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your consideration. I also had all this stuff to talk about. I failed to mention that also joining me is Anne Marie Bowling. She's from the IU Real Estate Department and has worked tirelessly with our local board. As we were considering our options on this land, this is not the first conversation we've had about what to do with this property. This is just simply the best alternative that that is available to us. But Anne Marie has worked tirelessly with us and responded to many questions and attended a lot of meetings, and just didn't want to leave here without acknowledging her as well. But thank you very much.
Thank the work and the thoughtfulness that has gone into partnering and been a partner in our county. It's very, very.
Do you have a confirming resolution in your packet?
Do I have what?
Do you all have a confirming resolution in your packet?
I might. Let's see. I've got a packet
Without signature.
without signatures.
We just need to add signatures, but that is the confirming resolution that we're looking for this evening on this project.
You've got a clean copy?
I do not see that. Was it in our packet?
No? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So would you
So
like?
you essentially just voted to approve, but I'm just saying, like, if we could get that confirming resolution as
As a signature?
record, and then we'll get signatures from you on it.
Okay, so we just approve this resolution and get its signatures.
I think that will affect what Commissioner Collier had actually moved for. It's just formalizing it through a confirming resolution.
Okay.
So, Brian, Commissioner Collier, would you be so kind as to potentially rephrase your motion to?
So I want to rephrase my motion to vote and pass the resolutions of the Commissioners of Morgan County, India, to approve the affiliation agreement amendment,
Yes.
Second.
AAA.
And we'll get a signature line version to you all for a signature.
Thank you.
On a
Thank you.
personal note, Ryan, please don't be a stranger. I enjoyed the years that you set up here and the challenges that you brought forth.
It's like a little family reunion on the way in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome back anytime.
Get you those signatures.
Thank you, sir.
We had a motion. I don't know if I had a second in the vote on the confirming resolution. Huh?
Haven't voted.
Yeah,
We
we call
need-
for the vote.
We had I call for the vote then.
The vote on the confirming
All in
resolution.
favor of the motion to, how should we say this? For the First
Brian
Amendment
said.
to the affiliation and get that will receive a signature page.
Aye.
Aye. That work for us? Yep. All right, thank you. Okay.
Ryan, since Ann's joined us, we've gotten a whole lot more professional. Yeah, yeah. You know how hard that can be for me.
Sometimes I wonder
Yeah.
what Commissioner Collier was like.
Next item on our new business is farm lease. Kenny, you got some, on that little small spot of ground, how is that gonna come out here?
I'd go ahead and make a motion. We had a piece of, it's like 0.3 of an acre. And I went ahead and had Brent Sample go ahead and sign that the other day, just making sure we was in compliance.
Okay.
I'll make the motion. We go ahead and move with the farm lease agreement with Brent Sample on this other piece of property.
3/10 of an acre, but he's not, well, we won't go what it's been, but we know where it is now.
Yeah.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Now, do we have any other items on new business that I have omitted? I don't see any. That being said, we have some old business items. One is Josh or Brent gonna
That's me,
speak? Oh,
the
do you have
Paragon
something
lease
to read?
addendum.
I'm sorry?
The Paragon lease addendum?
Yes.
That's me.
I'm
So
sorry.
You have in your packet, it's actually titled an addendum to the host agency agreement
I
service.
saw that. Okay.
Called it a lease addendum. We talked about this last time. This is the $2,500 contribution in exchange for Paragon Volunteer Fire Company outfitting a location for 2 employees to be on site with sleeping accommodations that are up to code. That is the proposal we talked about, and that is the contract that I have in front of you.
That's under the title of addendum to host agency agreement, correct?
Because there was a previous host agency agreement that's incorporated in reference there. That host agency agreement's been in place, I think, since August of 2020, and would remain unchanged other than this additional space and the contribution of the one-time contribution of $2,500 and the obligations of Paragon Volunteer Fire Company thereunder.
Good. Thank you for putting her down.
No
I
problem.
understand what it is. Any questions on that, gentlemen? Entertain a motion.
Kenny Hale makes a motion. We do the addendum to the host agency agreement between Morgan County and Paragon Volunteer Fire Department.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 3-0. We have some other old business, I just have some other business to attend to. One of them is some appointments to the Harrison Township, it's the regional, it's not Harrison Township. Regional Sewer Board. We have 2 appointments. One has to be from Harrison Township and one from, was it Madison?
I spoke with John Stanton, and he'd be willing to serve, so I would make the recommendation that we accept John Stanton.
What's his name? John Stanton.
Second.
All right, and I'll just go ahead and put, so we just do one vote here, I suppose, or maybe we need to go to, all in favor of John Stanton being the Madison Township representative on the Regional Sewer Board, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We also have a Harrison Township appointment to make, and I talked to one of my former scouts, an Eagle Scout actually, and I think he's also a captain on the Mooresville Police Department, John Forbes, who lives in Harrison Township. That was the requirement, and he agreed to serve. So I'll make a motion on John.
Second.
All in favor of the motion of John Forbes being a Harrison Township member of the Regional Sewer Board, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. And we'll make those notifications so that they know what's cooking. Next item we have are some tort claims. I thought I saw them here. Always have those.
Brian Collier makes a motion that we take our tort claims and send them on to our,
About all that I have on the agenda. you want to comment, Doree, on the PTO policy? Not the PTO.
I have a request. We had someone that did not qualify for FMLA by the federal guidelines, which is you have to work 1,250 hours in the year and be employed for a full year. This person was not employed, but they have had medical instance where they are requesting to be off for a total of 3 months. And short-term disability has covered them for 8 weeks of that. And so they're requesting 22 days without pay. This is a request from the prosecutor's office.
Hey, gentlemen, have any questions on that?
As much time as you ask off, young lady, people are gonna start wondering whether you ever work or not.
Well, you know, this is not for me.
You know, they don't read the whole story, they just read the Dree asked for more time off.
Right. It's not for
I asked
me.
for more time off.
This is what you call an accommodation. That would be close to it or not?
Yes.
This is an accommodation. I did take that, I took that test enough times, I know what
Thank you.
you're talking about.
This would be a leave accommodation, yes.
All right. We have any other questions?
And her supervisor wants to accommodate. and
Her
wants to keep them.
supervisor requested it.
Yep, I have no problem with this.
Take a motion.
I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Never ends. We have any other further business for the county that I've omitted? Before adjournment, then, we have always put a little section here called for the good of the county. And I'll ask you gentlemen to, if you've got something new, good to say about something that's going on or did go on.
I do.
All
But
right.
Do you? You
Go
can go
ahead.
first.
Go for it.
I'm very blessed to have sent the last 3 days out in the, sit down, you're done. You missed your opportunity. Ryan, I'm telling you, I need your help. Yeah. I'm carrying my $600, just throw down.
HR's in the room.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Anybody leave? I mentioned to Doree, the person she's talking about, there wasn't anybody in the department that was willing to donate their time, because I asked her why that person, if she's sick and needing off work, why she couldn't get paid. I don't know the circumstances, don't know who it is or whatever, but I have a lot of time. If they need 22 days, can they have my time to get paid? If it's, I would really, I don't know who the person is, whatever. You guys decide if that person is good for this and you can take my time, they can have 22 days of my time, because I'm not going to use it this year, and I've got a lot more than that. But if this person has abused their time and ran out of time because of that, it's probably not good, but I'm just going to offer it.
Thank
It's okay with you guys.
Thank you, Eddie, and.
Way to make me look like a jerk.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody's sick and in need, I would,
The transfer of time.
Uh-oh, you're in for it
No, I was
again.
just gonna say, if they don't take it, I'll take your 22 days.
are you sick enough for it?
Yeah, I'm mentally.
If it'll work, I don't.
Thank you, Eddie. You're very, very helpful. And thank you for the work that
We'll
you've
have
been
to
doing out
discuss
there.
that.
Appreciate it.
I don't even know jumping departments and, well, that's an interesting concept that we need to explore. Thank you.
Yeah,
think
we
it's
do need to explore that.
Yeah. Yep.
We're just trying to keep you from being able to talk, Brian.
I'm here all night.
Well, we had a good thing. So one of our officers was nominated for Officer of the Month for the Central Indiana Police Foundation, which was the very first one of this program. So Sheriff Myers had nominated him, and we just wanted to acknowledge.
Officer Mike Marshall of the Jail Division. He's done a great job, stepped up, became a firearms instructor, went above and beyond, and one of these guys that comes to work and doesn't say squat and does his job and goes home, and a good family man, and we just want to
He's been with us
send
for a
praises.
little over 10 years, too. He's been,
Wow,
and we stole him from another job in Greene County, so.
that's terrific. What's his, John,
Mike Marshall.
oh, Mike, Marshall?
Marshall.
Mike Marshall, yeah.
Thank you.
Got a law enforcement last name, don't he?
He does, Marshall.
Yeah.
Marshall Mike.
Marshall Mike Dillon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Kenny,
Second Saturday of December, we will be having from 11 to 2 Santa in the Park again, and it's going to be really a lot of new things this year, so come out and see us all.
I'm looking, I'll be there singing this time, but we need anybody that's, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm there with, it's kind of fun, but it's not, about 7 or 8 ladies singing the madrigal, and I've only got one voice, and it's not a lady's voice, so I kind of stick out where I wished I didn't, but I enjoy being there, and it's a great event that they do out at the parks. A lot of fun, and I look forward to it. I don't know if my good for the county would be sort of simple. It's just a good place to be, and it always has been that. It just keeps being like that, and you know, I got a little tour of the county the other day from Billy, and that's a delight. If you've never been on for a ride with Billy, Bill Fisher, Township Trustee, we have some things, challenges, let's say that. And, but it's always good to have the cooperation of the community to get involved in those things. So thank you for the tour. The what? Smallest township?
No, Harrison is the smallest.
It's gotta be,
Baker Smalls.
oh, you are the center. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's how it got the name. Centered tongue. They didn't know what else to call it.
I'm going to call on you next. I was going to say, I don't think he got to finish. He got like 3 words
Patience
out.
is a virtue. Real quick, had the opportunity to sit out in the woods. It's opening weekend for all those vivid deer hunters that like to go out. And I'm not much of a deer hunter, but I do enjoy getting out to the woods. And got up early in the morning to make my coffee on the wood stove, and had a couple issues of the correspondent that I was behind in reading. And as I sat on the front porch, because it was ridiculously warm this weekend, drinking my cup of coffee, and the doe walking right behind me, and I'm yelling, "That's why you guys get shot." And my wife was there. I flipped through the page, and at the bottom was a poem on the wood stove by Commissioner Don Adams. And I told my wife, I got so excited, I said, "This is so neat that, you know, I sit next to this guy. Here he is writing these poems, and I'm reading it out in the middle of God's country." So I'm very blessed to be in Morgan County. I'm very blessed to be able to sit up here. I do have fun doing what I'm doing, or I'll figure out, do something else, because life's way too short not to have fun. I've said this before, we do a lot of serious work, but it doesn't mean we can't have fun doing it. So I'd just like to thank the citizens of Morgan County, and I'd like to thank Don for an appropriate poem
For November.
at
Well, I like
an
to,
appropriate time. Couldn't have been any better.
I think I had to go someplace the other day, and it was actually the writers group that I have at our church that got me started putting little stuff like that together. I looked at that poem. I don't know, I didn't write that this recent, but I get inspired once in a while to put something up, put something down. But I took that paper it's in Hendricks County, that's where I go to church, or meeting for Quaker meeting. And they were very, very impressed. In fact, they're taking pictures about, look at the, So Keith and Josh and you and some of the other people involved in this, this newspaper that we've got, I think that's done immeasurable good for what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it all so much. Any other further business or any other comments on the good of the county?
Don't forget the Artesians this Friday night.
Artisans are playing Friday night.
Regionals.
Semi-state.
Oh,
That's
semi-state,
pretty
that's
darn
right.
good, isn't it?
Yeah, they gotta go to New Palestine. If they beat them there, they go to the state.
Wow. We'll wish them well. You gonna be there?
Oh, no. It's gonna be cold. I'm staying home.
That's right, Friday night's gonna chill down, but then the extended is warmer. So I'm ready, I'm glad to see that.
It'll be over.
Thank you for that reminder, Keith. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is, we are adjourned. We got some signatures to do.
Anywhere. Let's go, Eddie. Did we just make lines